Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Thursdays wherever you may be across this great country. A lot of different things to dive into. Trump doing a live press conference. I believe it is still going on as we speak. The biggest thing, I should have put this at the top of the headlines, is that there has been an agreement on at least one debate. Trump now wants to do 3 different debates. We'll see what the reaction is. Live on the air at his press conference, Trump said that they had agreed to a debate on September 4th on Fox News. He actually said Fox. I think he means Fox News. It would also be on Fox, obviously. He said NBC on September 10th and ABC on September 25th. They have since said that he flipped those dates, and ABC is September 10th. That one has been agreed to by both sides, and that NBC would be on September 25th. We will see how Kamala Harris responds to that debate challenge. She's been saying, say it to my face. Well, Trump now has said, hey, let's do 3 different debates. He already debated Joe Biden on June 27th. He now is saying, let's do 3 different debates against Kamala Harris, one on September 4th, one on September 10th, and one on September 25th. It will be interesting to see how the Harris team responds. It seems that they have both agreed basically on the September 10th ABC debate. And we'll see whether or not the other 2 end up on the calendar or not. From an odds maker perspective, as I speak to you right now at 3 o'clock Eastern on, what is today? what is today's date? I don't even know. August the 8th. As I speak to you on August the 8th, we are roughly a little bit less than 90 days, I think, away from the actual election, but significantly only about 30 days away from people being able to early vote. Who is going to win the presidential election 2024? According to Polymarket, with over $550 million bet, it is a dead heat, 49-49 on who is going to be the presidential election winner. So Trump's early lead over the past couple of months is now gone. Kamala Harris has evened up with Donald Trump in terms of the actual live gambling odds as it pertains to who is going to be the president of the United States. Kamala has surged in the 18 days since she became the nominee, nearly 3 weeks now. Trump is doing a press conference because he is saying Kamala Harris has avoided, and this is true, Kamala Harris hasn't done a single interview. She hasn't done a single press conference availability. And maybe this is a new way you do campaigns. Certainly Democrats in 2020 hid Joe Biden in the basement, never let him talk to anybody, and they were able to win the election. Trump is running around doing media everywhere, taking questions from anyone with no pre-screened questions that I'm aware of in Mar-a-Lago right now as we speak. And Kamala Harris hasn't managed to do a live sit-down interview, it doesn't feel like in forever, and certainly has not taken a single question that I'm aware of from an actual voter, and hasn't been out there on the campaign trail at all. So we will see how all of this ends up shaking out as we go forward. But the debates appear to be on, at least one of them. All of the chicken debate talk is gone. So that is the major kind of breaking news out there. I did want to hit this. The Tim Walz stolen valor argument is only gaining in attention and legitimacy. Tim Walz lied about carrying a gun in combat. He appears to have lied when he called himself an Operation Enduring Freedom veteran when he held a placard outside of a George W. Bush rally. It appears that he is guilty of stolen valor. That is, claiming to have done things in his military service that he did not do. I never served. I've never been in the military. I'm not an expert on this, so I have tended to allow others to weigh in on this. Yesterday, Sean Parnell was on our show. I just shared and have shared several different veteran commentaries on this. It appears to be a major issue for veterans across the political spectrum that Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, would choose to abandon his team, his regiment, his group of officers, his group of soldiers, when he was scheduled to lead them to Iraq. And he decided instead to run for Congress once he knew that he was going to have to serve in a combat setting, potentially in a dangerous manner. He decided to cut and run. Sean Parnell called that cowardice. Pete Hegseth at Fox News has called that cowardice. Both of those guys have served in combat situations, been under fire. And I think that there are a lot of military veterans who have served in combat roles that also feel like Tim Walz is guilty of lying about his combat service. And again, stolen valor, as it is called. I do not think this story is going to go away. I think that Walz has at best lied. At worst, I think that he has committed potentially a crime in lying about what his role in the military actually was. And I don't think this story is going to go away. I think it's going to linger. And I think it's evidence of Kamala Harris's team not having done that great of a job of actually doing a breakdown of what the data reflected in their background check. Now, maybe they have actually kind of run through so much of this that there has not been a sort of major vetting. Possibly there was a inability to actually do the due diligence on a case like this because they were scrambling. Maybe Kamala Harris's team doesn't have military veterans on their vetting team. It seems like a huge unforced error to have made this decision and to have failed like this, as it appears they have when it comes to a very basic biographical check. Not to mention they passed on Josh Shapiro, the Democrat governor of Pennsylvania, that I actually think would have been the far better candidate in an actual battleground state. So that is the latest on this story. By the way, let me go ahead and mention, if I didn't off the top, because I think I was diving right into the news, I'm not going to be doing an OutKick show tomorrow or all next week. That is the schedule anyway. It is my 20th anniversary. I will have been married 20 years next week. I am excited to go celebrate it with my wife, and so I'm not going to be on the radio, and I'm not going to be doing OutKick shows. So we are headed out to Colorado, and I'm excited to be out there. I think that we will have a fabulous time, but I want to thank my wife, Laura, for being with me for 20 years, for putting up with me, and for putting up with all three of our boys, 16, 13, and 9. She basically lives in a frat house. If you think living with me was tough, imagine living with three of my sons who are sports obsessed and constantly active, running around, creating a huge stir on a daily basis. And we have a lot of fun, but if you are someone who has three kids of the opposite sex of you, whether you're a mom with three boys or a dad with three girls, there is certainly a different culture in the house than maybe what you have been used to in the past when it comes to having everybody in the household be the opposite sex from you. I know I've got a bunch of buddies that have either three boys or three girls. I don't know how that ends up happening so frequently, but it does feel like a lot of people out there have all boys or all girls. I feel like if we had kept having kids, we would have kept having boys. But anyway, I feel fortunate to have three boys, happy, healthy, and to have been married for 20 years happily as well. Couple of different stories that are out there. This one's fun. I was at the gym yesterday, or 2 days ago. Maybe it was Saturday. Anyway, I was in the gym. I've gone back in and started lifting again. I like to bench press. I like to lift weights. Always have. And while I was there, I was, really just kind of curious. I'm not as strong as I used to be. So at my peak, I could do, let's say, 6 reps on 225. Might have gotten up to 8, something in that neighborhood. Come to find out, I didn't realize this was true. According to a lot of you on social media who have sent me links, only 1 in 1,000 guys can bench press 225 pounds. And there is video of me bench pressing 225 pounds 7 years ago. And when I was talking about this on the show, I then went on, I mentioned it yesterday on the show, I then went on with Hot Mike, and I put up a poll, and I asked you guys, hey, do you think I can bench press 185 pounds 10 different times? This was during the Hot Mike show with Jonathan Hutt and Chad Withrow. And then I came home after going to the gym, and I put up a poll, and I want to see what the latest numbers are on that poll. The numbers reflect, let's see what you guys said. 12,000 of you have voted. 59% of you, I'm going to retweet this right now if you want to go vote. 59% of you said that you do not believe I can bench press 185 pounds 10 times. So I was in the gym yesterday, and after I talked with Withrow and Hutton, I was sitting around. I'll admit that I was wrong on this. My thought was that 20% of men between the ages of 20 and 50 could bench press their weight 10 times. That is, whatever you weigh, if you weigh 135 pounds and you're a guy that with 2 45-pound weights, you would lay down and you could crank out 10 reps. And I thought maybe 20% of men 20 to 50 could do that. Withrow and Hutton told me I was crazy. Withrow said at best 10%. Josh Pate, who does a good show with CBS Sports, weighed in. He's obviously way stronger. Said 2% at best. The numbers seem to be around 1 or 2%. So I went into the gym yesterday, and I was like, okay, let me put on 185, and let me just see how many reps I can get out. And there was a guy from an Ohio State gear. I don't know who he was in the gym. I said, hey, man, can you come over and spot me? And I cranked out 8 reps, no assistance from him. I feel pretty confident that if I hadn't done any other warm-up sets and if I hadn't done any other lifting, that I can do 10 full reps on 185. That's a 45-pound weight with a 25-pound weight for those of you that don't spend any time in the gym. 60% of you, as I just shared, basically said you didn't think I could do it. Bet Online set up a bet. They said plus 120 if I can do it, minus 150 that I cannot do it. In other words, they're betting against me. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set up a official bench press challenge. I will roll in and I will rep out on camera 10 185s for all of you out there. Now, I didn't even think that was that impressive of a thing to do, but by the way people are reacting, it's like I said I was going to run a 4-minute mile. Now, maybe this is just a function that nobody has any confidence whatsoever in my strength. But evidently, when I do this, and I'm going to do it, when I crank out the 10 reps on 185, I'm going to be able to say, especially at the age of 45, that I am one of the strongest men of my age in the world. I mean, meaning for 45-year-old men, I would be in the top 1% strongest in all the world. Even my wife didn't believe that. I told my 13-year-old downstairs a little bit earlier, he said, no way, Dad. No one respects anything that I can do. This might be the first time that I have actually undersold myself when it comes to my physical strength. And I asked everybody earlier to be polled in the OutKick studio in Nashville that 3 out of the 8 guys there said they could bench press 185 pounds 10 times. One of those guys went and tried to do it last night and couldn't do it. So he's now dropped out. Is it possible that I am the strongest on-air person in all of OutKick? Does Dan Dakich have no pride at all? I mean, this is a guy who played for Bobby Knight. Can I bench press more than Dan Dakich? I don't know. I think I could take Tommy in terms of bench press. She's way better looking than me. Probably way more talented, but I think I can bench press more than her. Withrow and Hutton have just admitted, younger men, fit, athletic men, that I am stronger than them. Ricky Cobb, he's older than me. I don't know that Ricky Cobb's got a chance to make a run. Charlie, also better looking, probably more talented. Not in the running here. We're talking about men. Do any of our writers outbench me? We might have some behind-the-scenes production staff that is stronger than me. But I never really thought about it. Am I the strongest person in all of Fox News? Tyrus, again, on a pound-for-pound basis, can probably bench press way more than me. But on a per capita relative to weight, I don't know. I didn't realize what a beast I was. I've underrated myself. We will post the video at some point in the near future, and you can all watch me. I'll have somebody come out and be like, hey, this weighs 25 pounds. By the way, to be fair, I did weigh in this morning at 187 pounds. So this morning, I think I've talked about this before, I have a boxing trainer I have a boxing trainer come to the house 3 days a week, and I do 9 rounds of boxing 3 days a week, usually Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And so I worked out, got ready, about to hop in the shower, hopped on the scale. I weighed 187 pounds this morning. So in full disclosure, I said bench press my body weight. My body weight technically is 187 for this morning, but 185. I mean, I guess we could add 1 pound weight or something. I don't even know how you do that. I think 2 pound weights are the lowest. But that's kind of where we are. Probably the clamps add up to 187. Basically, I am 185, and I can bench press my weight 10 times. And that makes me a physical freak for men of all ages, grown men of all ages, but particularly for grown men who are 45. Dads of 3, running media companies, on the radio. I may be the strongest person in the world who runs a media company and is on daily radio every day for 3 hours. It's possible that that's me. 2 of the 8 in the studio say that they can still do 185. But by the way, Adam and Dylan, how young are you? You're both like 24, right? So again, they're like 24, 25-year-old dudes. When I was 24, 25, I mean, I was a beast. Still a beast, evidently. All right, speaking of beast, I got attacked by the Washington Post, not for being incredibly strong and amazingly alpha and dashingly handsome with amazing hair. You might think that would be the attack they would come after me with. They didn't. Didn't happen. I'm trying to find the Washington Post. Here's the Washington Post app on my phone. I meant to address this yesterday, and then I forgot to do it. So I am going to find their article. They wrote an article saying that I was being unfair to the Olympic XY boxers who are potentially going to get their gold medals by beating up a bunch of girls. And so here is the headline. Fox News shows helped spread false claims about gender of boxers. And here is the opening. I'm in the second paragraph. On Harris Faulkner's Fox News show, commentator Clay Travis said, quote, "It's completely indefensible that these 2 individuals have been allowed to compete as women while they are biologically men." Yeah, I did say that, and I'm right. And I can't believe that I'm getting attacked by the Washington Post for saying it. Look, the evidence clearly establishes that I have read that these are XY chromosomed boxers. If you are an XY chromosome, you are a man. You should be ineligible to beat up women and try to win a gold medal if you are an XY chromosome, either from Algeria or from Taiwan. These boxers were disqualified based on failing gender tests. They then had the opportunity to take tests and prove they were wrong, and they have so far declined to do so. If you wonder what a test requires, they just swab your cheek and then they just test it to see whether you're XY or XX. Women who have been losing have been throwing up the double X's, saying, hey, I'm an actual woman. This has become a real slogan. I can't imagine that this is the real world in which we live. Female boxers who are losing to these biological male boxers are throwing up the double X's. Why is it so important to argue that these people are women? Why is the left so obsessed with defining womanhood to include men? Men don't do this. There is no XX boxer out there that is competing, that is a biological woman that's trying to compete against men because she would get wrecked, right? No one who is female that is trying to claim they are male, by and large, can make any male athletic team. They just aren't good enough because men are bigger, stronger, and faster than women. It's not a denigration of women. That's just biological reality. That's why we separate men's and women's sports. Why is this something that they're fighting about? Why can't they just acknowledge, you know what? If you've got XY chromosomes, you shouldn't be competing as a women's athlete. Why are they demeaning women to such an extent that men who claim to be women are becoming women's champions and being named Woman of the Year? How did feminists ever allow this to happen? Men don't allow it. There's no woman who just became a man last year that's getting named Man of the Year. When they tried to even have NCAA basketball remotely connected to the idea of trans with Bud Light, the brand basically cratered, lost 30% of its business almost overnight. A lot of men, including me, still won't be seen anywhere with a Bud Light because of that failure. Just think about it. Why are they behaving so aggressively such that the Washington Post is attacking me in that process? By the way, official news, breaking news from the Wall Street Journal. Trump has agreed to a September 10th debate with Harris on ABC, proposes 2 more. We'll see what ends up happening. My bet would be, by the way, that they will agree that Harris will refuse Fox News because Kamala doesn't want to ever have to face anything other than a rigged crowd and or rigged media, and that she will agree to debate on September 25th on NBC. That would be my bet, that she'll just say, no, I'm not doing Fox News, and that they then will do NBC on September 25th. Again, this news is just coming down because Trump just proposed these 3 debates in the last, 30, 45 minutes or so, just FYI. So all that moving in this direction. Couple of other things. Harrison Butker got the biggest contract in NFL kicker history, is back in training camp with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he did a press conference yesterday. Harrison Butker somehow can do a press conference. Kamala Harris can't, but Harrison Butker can. And Harrison Butker said that he wasn't going to apologize for anything. He said he went and read much of the coverage surrounding his commencement address, that he considered everything that everyone said, and that he remained convinced that everything he said was correct and he didn't apologize for anything. I love it. I love it. Whatever you believe, just own it. If you've really done your homework and if you've done a deep dive on an issue and you have a strong belief, why do you care what somebody else says? Just own it. Just come out and say, this is what I believe. And I don't care if you disagree. You know this is true. I've been doing media for 20 years. 20 years now. I started writing online in 2004. Do you know how many times I have ever apologized for any opinion that I have ever given? 0. Not one time. Now, sometimes I get facts wrong, and I come on with you and I say, hey, I said X, turns out the facts are Y. I care about getting facts right because they impact the quality of the opinion that I share. So if I get a fact wrong, then I'll come on and say, hey, I told you this. Sorry, it turns out this is the reality. I've never apologized for an opinion in 20 years. Because by the time I share an opinion with you publicly, I am confident in my opinion. Doesn't mean you have to agree. Means that I've done all my research. I've done all the work that is necessary. And I am going to tell you exactly what my opinion is. Why can't everybody do that? I'm so sick of the fake apology era where somebody comes out and says something and somebody else reacts and says, oh my goodness, I'm offended. And then you say, well, I'm sorry that you were offended by what I said, or I want to apologize. No, just own what you say. Just own it. I loved what Harrison Butker did. I loved him addressing the media and just flat out owning it. Good for him. I want to tell you two different stock paths. Warner Brothers Discovery stock, as we speak, is currently tanking. I mean, just falling absolutely apart. I'm going to get to that in a sec. Just absolutely fallen apart. Everything is a disaster. Right now, as I speak to you, Warner Brothers stock is down 9%, and the stock price is $7.02. Stock price has collapsed. The entire market cap of the company is $17.2 billion. I talked about this recently. They just wrote off $9 or $10 billion in assets. CNN is a mess. All of Warner Brothers is a mess right now. HBO is their best asset. Meanwhile, TKO Group Holdings, which is the UFC run by Dana White and WWE run by my friend Nick Khan. Now, Nick Khan used to represent me at CAA. I've known him for a long time now. He was an amazing agent. He's doing a phenomenal job as the CEO at WWE. Now, you can take that with a grain of salt. Understand he's my friend, that I'm impressed by the work that he does. But think about the trajectories of the UFC and WWE that have just leaned into, hey, we're going to serve our predominantly male audience. Obviously, there are a lot of women who like the UFC and like WWE too. My wife, for instance, loves the WWE. My boys are obsessed with Raw and SmackDown, particularly the youngest. I was just at WrestleMania last April up in Philadelphia. I've loved the WWE for a long time. UFC I've come to enjoy as well. Not as much, but I never was like a huge Ultimate Fighting fan. But I do appreciate the way that they have run that business. It's done fabulously well. That stock today is up 7%. And the stock market valuation of that company is approaching $10 billion, near an all-time valuation high. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers Discovery is collapsing. It's important. It's not every business that is going to thrive, but if you have the right leadership, it makes a tremendous difference. Just makes a tremendous difference. And I think if you look at those two companies, which are in media entertainment, Warner Brothers may end up bankrupt, and they may have a fire sale where they're just firing off all their different assets, whether it's TNT, HBO, the Harry Potter movies, the Game of Thrones from HBO, all these different great assets. But the underlying company is such a mess. And then you compare it with TKO. I just think it's two companies passing in the night. I have owned stock in WWE for over a decade now, still do. I told you most of my money is in S&P 500 index funds. That's true. But I have, I don't know, maybe, let's see, I'm trying to do math in my head, like 5% of my overall stock holdings are in individual stocks, meaning not S&P 500 effective index funds. And TKO is one of those. All right. I appreciate all of you. There is by the way, Taylor Swift concerts. Thank God they caught these guys that were going to try to bring to bear terror attacks. I believe in, Adam, make sure I got this right, Vienna, Austria, I think is where they caught these guys that were going to try to kill as many people as possible at the Taylor Swift concerts. I know that we just had October 7th 10 months ago. And I know that there are and continue to be violent acts taking place everywhere. I am afraid that we are on the precipice of a major, major terror attack in either Europe or the United States. It feels inevitable to me. As hard as the workers are working to try to keep it from happening, I'm glad that they caught these guys in Vienna, Austria. But it feels like as we come up on election season, we already had the assassination attempt. I hope I'm wrong on this, but it feels like there is a pressure point boiling with what's going on in the Middle East, with Israel and everybody else around them, Iran. It feels to me like a major terror attack is imminent. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's years from now and nothing awful has happened. But I just feel like something is coming. And I think a lot of you have that sense too. Certainly with the southern border open, the number of actual terrorists who have been able to cross our southern border is substantial. Could happen in the United States, could happen in Europe, but I feel like it is inevitable, especially with the election coming up soon. All right. I am headed to Colorado for my 20th wedding anniversary. I love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. This has been OutKick, the show. I'll be back with you. Let me do the math here. I'll be back with all of you, scheduled to be back with all of you on August 19th. If something crazy happens, I may well react with a live video over the next 10 days or so. But I hope all of you have a fantastic weekend. And I hope all of you have a good end of your summer. I'm actually headed right now. My 13-year-old, my 8th grader, has got his first football game of the season. It's a preseason game, but it is football time in Tennessee for my purposes, and I am about to head out to go watch my 8th grader play his 8th grade football game. Appreciate all of you. Like I said, DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. This has been OutKick, the show.